Are the lines parallel, perpendicular, or neither? In example A, let's take a look at the format of the equations. They're both set into slope-intercept form, right? In other words, they both look like this equation over here on the right. They're in y equals mx plus b form. Now the key thing to realize is that parallel lines have the same slope, which means the m, or the thing in front of the x, has to be the same for the two lines to be parallel. So when you look at A, we can tell they're not parallel because the slopes are not the same. Now, if they were perpendicular lines, the slopes must be negative reciprocals of one another. So y equals 3x plus 7 has a slope that's equal to 3, right? That's the slope for the first line. But the slope for the second line is equal to negative 1/3. And that is the negative reciprocal of 3, because basically 3 is equal to 3 over 1, right? If you flip it over, reciprocating it, you get 1/3, and if you make it negative, you have the slope below. So that means the two lines are perpendicular. So for example A, we're going to say the slopes are perpendicular. Okay, let's look at example B then. For example B, again, both equations are set up in the y equals mx plus b form, which is very helpful because it means we can identify what the slope is. For example B, the slope for both equations is 2. So it's m equals 2 for the first line and m equals 2 for the second line. So with that in mind, we're saying they have the same slopes, so therefore the two lines are parallel. So remember, if two lines have the same slope, they will be parallel. Assuming, of course, that their y-intercepts are different. If they have the same slope and the same y-intercept, then the two lines are really just one line, the same line repeated twice, right? But in this case, they have different y-intercepts, same slope, so the two lines are parallel. Okay, let's look at the last one, example C then. Again, we see the equations are in y equals mx plus b form. That means we can see what the slope is right away for both lines. So we have the slope for the first line being equal to 4, and we have the slope for the second line being equal to negative 4. They're not the same, so the two lines are not parallel. In order for them to be perpendicular, they would have to have slopes that are negative reciprocals of one another. Well, let's just look at the first slope here. It's 4 over 1, so if I reciprocate that, that would lead us to say 1/4, and then if I made it negative, that would lead us to say negative 1/4. So this would be the slope of a line that's perpendicular to our first equation. But that's not the slope that we have here, right? That's not that slope. So we're going to say the two lines are not perpendicular either. So the lines are not parallel. They're not perpendicular because the slope that's here is the slope of a line that's perpendicular to our first line, but that's not the slope that the second line has. So we're going to say that these two lines are neither parallel nor perpendicular to one another.